Good afternoon, everyone, and happy Sunday. I am Daniel, as you may know me as your DM on every Thursday as Xanarus. And welcome to Something Wicked. I'm here with my lovely editor and co host today, Em. Say hi, Em, to everybody.
Hi.
So, we are here today, no longer bringing the good thing, no longer bringing joy and smiles to children. Ah, we're back to the terrible, wicked things. And today we're going to be talking about something that I particularly like quite a bit, and I hope that you do too. Glops. So if you have a moment, I want you to sit down, listen to the sonorous tones of my voice, get yourself a cup of coffee, because this one gets weird real quick. Mm. With that being said, let us all go and prick our tongue. Be wicked. This way come. Today we are talking globsters. Not lobsters, mind you, globs. Or as M horrifically put into my mind. You want to say it, M?
Gelatinous cubes from D&D.
Ugh, God. Ugh.
Almost every creature in D&D can be related to a creature on Earth or in a different system.
How many? Wait. Just
Bran and I
oh,
have gone into great detail. So dragons, kimono dragons. That is the
oh,
closest thing that we have.
that's fair.
Mind flayers, uh, uh, octopuses.
Mm, yeah.
We have been trying to find something that correlates, but nothing quite fits, like the gelatinous cube.
Well, with that being said, oh, and also before we start, will you please all go and look at Anne's super duper cool haircut and give them props? It looks lovely. I love it. I saw it and I was shocked. I was like, wait a second. And then I saw the full extent of it. But if you guys just happen to be in chat, let me know that you love it as much as I do. So with that, and would you be so kind? So I need you all to understand what a globster might be. And to do that, let's show you. And will you show our fans what is it that we're talking about today?
Absolutely.
Huh. Let that roll around your eyeballs, everybody. So that you see what is it that I'm talking about when I say globster. Now, you may be asking yourself, what the fuck am I looking at?
It's not a
Eh,
jellyfish.
it's not a jellyfish. It is not a bunch of plastic. It is membrane. Lots and lots and lots of membrane. Now, globsters are a phenomenon that has been going on for a long, long time. As a matter of fact, they gave purchase to people believing in things like sea monsters. And with that being said, allow me to give you a little bit of history. So, the term globster actually comes. The term globster, forgive me, comes from the term comes was coined by an individual by the name of Ivan T. Sanderson in 1962, which is to describe one of the more famous globsters, the Tasmanian carcass of 1960. I'll give you a little bit of forethought in that. So I want you all to imagine with me. You're walking along the beach, the sun is out, smell the salt in the ocean. You can feel the warmth on your feet and on your skin. And all of a sudden, you hear pelicans, seagulls. Not just one or two of them, hundreds, sometimes even thousands, because they found something. And as you get a little bit closer and as you begin to smell it as you get closer, the smell is said to be so pungent that it could cause your eyes to tear up, and as you get close enough to it, even vomit. That is a globster. Now, with that being said, the Tasmanian globster, large and identified, we're talking about, it had washed up on shore in Western Tasmania in August of 1960. Now, I want you guys to understand the size. It is literally said to have weighed 5 to 10 tons and measured 18 feet long. Oh, forgive me, 20 feet by 18 feet, and was estimated to weigh 5 to 10 tons. It lacked eyes and had soft tusk like protuberances, had a spine, six soft, fleshy arms, and stiff white bristles covering its body. Or if you really feel like going into detail with it, you can even go and say philia, you know, like a gelatinous cube would. Now, have you read up anything on globsters? Anything that you've seen?
I have just I don't understand them scientifically. I don't understand how they're capable of being because I mean like I understand that they're closely related to jellyfish. Like they are
Mm,
able to have no lack of bones or any other recognizable structures.
Hmm,
Um, but that is not always the case.
that is not always the case.
So
Because you,
I am baffled.
so you see, and actually, I can give you a little bit of info on that because there was another one, the Stranse Beast. The Stranse Beast was another very large lobster that washed up on the Orkney Islands in Scotland after a storm on the 25th of September, 1808. The carcass, quote unquote, measured 55 feet in length without part of its tail.
Mm,
The National History Society of Edinburgh could not identify the carcass and decided it was a new species, possibly sea salmon. The naturalist Patrick Neal gave it the scientific name Hasadrius pontopidani or Pontopidani sea snake in honor of Eric Pontopidanen, who described sea serpents in a work published half a century before. The autonomous Sir Everard Home in London later dismissed the measurement, declaring it must have been around 36 and then deemed it to be a decaying basking shark. And in 1846, Scottish professor John Goodsir in Edinburgh came to the same conclusion. Now, it is said this is going to be some of the stuff that we'll see. It's measured by two farmers. It had a circumference of about 10 feet, three pairs of appendages described as paws or wings. Its skin was smooth when stoked head to tail and rough when stoked tail to head. Its fins were edged with bristles, and it had a row of bristles down its back, which glowed in the dark when wet. Its stomach contents were red. How much truth do we give into something said from 1808? But it is interesting to go and see that we've been seeing these things for a long, long, long time. And as a matter of fact, one of the more famous ones, because of one of the sheer size, happened in 2003,
yep.
the Chilean blob. Large mass of tissue found in the Pineo Beach in Los Muermos, Chile, in July 2003, weighing 13 tons and measured 12 meters, 36 feet raw. The Chilean blob made headlines around the world because biologists were literally unable to figure it out. But most people did believe that it was a giant octopus. Now, this is where things get odd. In June of 2004, DNA found in the blob was found to match that of a sperm whale, and the blob was a large mass of adipose tissue, the partial remains of a dead sperm whale. And if you don't know what adipose tissue is, everyone, fat, literally fat off of a dead whale. Hmm. It gets weird because we have also found some of these creatures to have actual bones in them
And flippers and
and flippers, which is where we go into Trunco. Trunco is the nickname of one of the most famous globsters that was actually found in Margate, South Africa on the 25th of October, 1924. The initial sighting of Trunco was put in an article as fish like a polar bear, published on the 27th of December 1924 edition of the London's Daily Mail. So, this is the fun part. The animal was supposedly seen off coast fighting two killer whales, which fought the unusual creature for over 3 hours. Now, people are saying that it used its tail to attack the whales and reportedly lifted itself out of the water by about 20 feet. One of the witnesses said that the animal looked like a giant polar bear due to what most thought was dense fur. The creature reputedly washed up on the Margate beach, but by then it was actually there for 10 days, but no scientists ever made it to it. And until September 2010, it was assumed that no photographs of it had ever been published. Some people who had never been, forgive me, some people who never were identified described the animal as possessing snowy white fur and an elephant trunk. So This is the description of this bad boy by paleontologist Darren Naish. They show it. Oh, they show that it was the rotting carcass of a large vertebrate, most likely a whale. The idea that this is really the body of a white furred, trunked sea monster stems from naivete about the appearance of rotting animal carcass and the photos that are somewhat ambiguous, but the enormous bulk of the carcass, the large amount of what looks like frayed, badly decayed collagen, and the presence of what seems to be a mostly obscured internal skeletal framework suggests that it is not a globster, a rotting mass of whale tissue. Now, how does that happen? How does a whale just pop up? Because we've seen whale bodies before,
Mm-hmm.
and they have a very bad habit of exploding when whales are left alone on beaches
From the
to
gas,
the
yeah.
to the point of it actually being kind of bad. And I'll explain. In most cultures, a dead whale that appears on the ocean is considered bad luck. Right, like the moment you see it, it's that's bad. So, and also when they arrive now, when they begin to swell up with that gas and they begin to look like a small balloon. Give me one sec. I'll take a Coke. My nephew's getting me a Coke, everybody. I but besides from that, so whales will literally swell up with gas from rotting in the inside, and they will explode like a bomb, like literally, like if a grenade was thrown into the thing. You can see videos of it on YouTube. We're not going to post any of that because people have actually been hurt by whales exploding, which is wild. I never in my life thought I would have to go and say, well, a guy actually almost lost his eyeball by getting hit by a chunk of whale. It's just not what I would have ever thought.
That
Out of
was a
all the
great
things,
sentence.
out of all the things that might have come out my mouth, I just never thought that that would actually be like the thing that we're going to talk about. So, what makes a globster weird?
One, we've never seen one alive.
You never seen one alive. We've never captured one to go and study. And on most parts, it is believed that they really aren't actual creatures, if not rotting corpses. But we'll give a little bit more knowledge of it. Like the St. Augustine monster. The St. Augustine monster is a name given to a large carcass originally postulated to be the remains of a gigantic octopus that washed ashore of the United States coast near St. Augustine, Florida in 1896. It's referred to as the Florida monster, the St. Augustine giant octopus, and the Florida globster. The species that the carcass represented has been assigned the binomial names Octopus gigantus, Latin for giant octopus. And although these are not valid on the rules of the ICZN. Now, in 1995, analysis concludes St. Augustine monster was a large mass of the collagenous matrix, a whale blubber comes from the body sperm whale. Now, I want you all to think on that for a second. The sheer size of what a whale is. I know it's almost difficult to understand it, but sperm whales, forgive me, and I close my tab. So sperm whales are actually they can literally be more than 60 feet long. They are massive beyond comprehension. And when they die, they will become feeding houses for thousands, millions of sea life as they slowly begin to fall into the ocean, where they will get eaten up. Homes will be made out of the bones. Sharks will eat off pieces of it. Lobsters and things will eat from it. They literally become almost as if natural coral reef built from their own body. There's a biblical story about a whale. I believe, who is it that was swallowed up by a whale?
Jonas.
Jonas. And the possibility that is very real because they, honest to goodness, can swallow a whole human being whole. Now, does it happen? Not really. But Killer whales might do it. But how does that describe the hair? The the hair all over their bodies. There's a thing to that. Globsters are being identified as heavily decaying whale mass. And as that happens, the skin is the first thing to. But again, we need you to keep in mind the sheer power of a whale. Something that large that maneuvers its whole body through the ocean is extremely muscular. That adipose tissue is actually muscle fiber that is beginning to decompose all throughout its body. And the best example I can give that to you is when you eat a piece of fried chicken. When you bite into it and you see how you pull string, that is muscle. So imagine that on the scale of, you know, 60 feet. All that fat, all that good stuff, just doing its thing. And it's, oh, the smell. Can you imagine the smell? The smell must be so intense. I would pay good money to know what that smells like just once, just to be able to go and know what that's like. And
Probably no worse than the rotting flower.
oh, and would you tell them what the rotting flower is?
So I don't know where that's indigenous to. Somewhere in Africa.
Hmm.
Um, but there's this flower that only blooms like every 16, 18 years, and it's supposed to be a beautiful flower that blooms. And but when it blooms, it smells like rotting carcass and just
Actually, to add to that, it's called the corpse flower. The Amorphophallus titanium, also known as the titanium aurum, reeks of rotting flesh and death when in bloom, and it only blooms for 24 to 36 hours.
Yep.
And it is a beautiful, beautiful plant. Stinks to high hell. So there's that.
So I have a
Now,
question.
ask.
Globsters, are they sentient?
They are not.
Mm.
Globsters, and I hate to go and tell this to everybody, they're not creatures of their own. Globsters have been estimated to truly be just rotting whale corpses half the time, if not. And the only globsters seen with teeth and things like that usually are rotting basking sharks.
Ah,
Where they go and they find the heads and they go and they find the spines.
that's
It's
sad.
unfortunate. How does now you come to think about it? Why do they look like they have feet then? It's the fins. These fins are built kind of like a human arm. So since they no longer had their ridges and they no longer have all the collagen to make that really cool fin, it literally looks like if it was a hand or a claw, since they are long protuberances. So it would look like if though this thing had short little claws on all of its side, but it's actually just the fins.
Oh.
So sadly, and I hate to dismiss them so quickly into it, most lobsters have been identified as rotting whale corpses.
Oh.
But that leads me to the big thing of something wicked today. How do we know? How do we know such things? How can we tell that something isn't sentient? Why are
DNA.
we so quick to dismiss DNA? And I have something that I want to mention today that may truly be spelling the death of the cryptid. Environmental DNA. 2018. If you just so happen to be here for our cryptid episode, if not, please give it a watch. We spoke about the massive research done in the Loch Ness. Environmental DNA, so that we can all get a broad understanding of it. Everything dies, everything rots. As you begin to walk around, skin flakes fall off of you. as you use the toilet, as you go and you clip your nails. These things are all part of your DNA. You are truly built special stuff, believe it or not. And that stuff all has your DNA in it. Using environmental DNA, we are able to go and break down these little filaments and we are able to find DNA sequences, genome, and we are able to identify. That is where it gets nifty. So in 1990, forgive me, in 2018, they do this massive research thing inside of Loch Ness. And as they do, people are hoping that we're going to find the Loch Ness monster. But they didn't. But the good thing about it, and I know that some of you may not be thinking that right now, the good thing about it is that they did prove something. And that is where it gets fun. So a lot of times, so a lot of times you're thinking, oh, but it's not a monster. Oh, I may just surprise you. Think of this. After the results of 250 samples of water taken from around through the center and into the very depths of the deepest parts of Loch, DNA from each sample was captured, extracted, and sequenced, and compared against global DNA databases to reveal a comprehensive picture of life present in the loch, examining bacteria, fish, and everything else in between. So most species are so small you can barely see them, but there are a few that are large, and of course, the question we're all asking is there anything big enough to explain a monster? So with that, they find all these. They were hoping to go and find shark DNA, something, anything, but no. But they found eel, lot and lot eel. Now the thing that's kind of scary about that is there's a significant amount of eel DNA in the loch.
It was supposed to be in every location that was sampled.
That is correct. So the data doesn't reveal size, but the sheer quantity of material doesn't discount that there could be giant eels in the loch. Now, allow me to go and wrap this around your minds for just a moment. Eels have been reported to grow 20 feet long,
Mhm.
some even longer. Could you imagine being on the banks of Loch Ness fishing, cup of coffee in your hand, just letting the wind touch your face, and you see something moving slowly through the water, serpent as it goes against the wave, and you look. Are we truly taking away Ness? I don't think so. As a matter of fact, I think we give her power by stating she's not a dinosaur. And the crazy thing is, she could very much be real, just not the way that we think.
Mhm.
A giant eel, which has been seen before, out and about into the depths of Loch Ness. Makes you smile a little bit. But we also have weird things that eDNA is beginning to do now. Because you see, they're trying to use eDNA to find my favorite, and I know of so many others, the man with the big feet. So when that leads to that, and this is kind of the stuff that makes me laugh. There is a really big thing called Expedition Bigfoot, which yielded an investigation with unexpected DNA results. Now, with this, you have this team collected evidence in the field searching for the most famous and elusive cryptid, Bigfoot. Throughout the 2 month journey, thank you so much. Bryce Johnson, expedition operations Dr. Myria Mayer, a primatologist, Russell Accord, ex military survivalist, and Ronnie LeBlanc, Bigfoot researcher, used the latest in advanced technologies to narrow their search within the designated target zone. beginning in Kentucky and then switching mid expedition to Washington State. Now, I'm not going to go into the whole thing of as they truly began their investigation that they heard Bigfoot and that they saw a massive 16-inch foot imprint because that's cool as hell, but that's not what I'm here for today, everybody. And as you can tell, I want to believe
you
so
mean
bad, and
you mean you didn't hear the mating calls?
that that must be terrifying. Could and it's funny, big and this is me going off topic, but I actually have friends from the Appalachians and some old country folk, and I have literally been told when we hear something screaming, we pay it no mind. And you gotta love how it's just like whose business is the best business? My own. Just like I just fuck that. Because it's one thing that when we go and talk about these things and all that. Oh, and the oh, that's good. The Mexican ones are the best, guys. It has real cane sugar in it. Totally try it. It tastes like a completely different thing. But think for just a second that you're up in the mountains, that you're there, maybe hunting deer or something like, and you hear, and then tree banging. I piss myself, and I consider myself to be very like no joke. It takes a lot for me to be truly scared. Like I might get a jump scare, like you literally might, whoo, but it takes a lot for me to go and be like, what is that? And then dun dun dun. So here's what we found with Expedition Bigfoot.
Which you
And
should absolutely go watch the TV
it's
series.
actually it's actually really good if you guys get a chance. And again, using science, and this is something that I want us all to kind of think about too. Science is not the bad guy. I know that when we see things like this, the very first thing that we're thinking, oh, and no, that's not true.
I mean, we
Because
just proved Nessie was real.
let us demystify. If we can demystify just a little bit, we can still hold on to what makes them special. Because is the Loch Ness what you thought? No. But could it, honest to goodness, truly be something there? Yes. And that's special within of itself. Now with Bigfoot, it gets weird. eDNA gets a little weird. And let me explain why. They received a few samples, they get them processed, they're looking at the organisms, and they're using a software that's known as metabarcoding. Hmm. I'll explain. So it matches up DNA sequences that we're able to detect and try to cross-reference with thousands of genomes that have been published. Now that's one of the things with eDNA, environmental DNA. There's issues with genome databases. There's a lot of peer reviews that are trying to go and find more consistent research in databases to go and correlate the genomes that everyone's seeing so that everyone can go and see what exactly the same DNA is being found. To put it simply, think of it kind of like a Pokédex. In the Pokédex, you point it at the Pokemon and it tells you that's a Psyduck. And Psyduck does this and this and this. eDNA is your Pokédex, and it allows you to be able to go and find these. So, in essence, scientists are trying to develop a Pokédex for
Try.
all environments.
No, no, no. We're gonna go with tricorder. We're gonna go Star Trek. You go your poke.
Oh, okay, yeah, that works too. Yeah, that worked just fine. For all of our sci-fi nerds that are watching right now, it's like, fucking Pokedex.
Which I'm wearing my Star Trek shirt. I got Spock. Sorry.
Welcome to our very serious investigation into the paranormal. Hmm.
Oh, okay,
The-
okay. So back on track.
Back on track.
What do you
So
say about those footprints that they find that you see them holding up like a cast of feet? Whose feet prints are those?
in truth, me personally, I think a lot of them are hoaxes.
Mm.
But, but, that is where the eDNA kind of makes me think, which is weird. With the eDNA, they detect humans,
Mm.
lots of humans, traces everywhere. They also started seeing different primate DNA. There wasn't just one human primate, there were several different primates,
Hmm.
some sort of primate relative that exists in the data. One of them being pan troglodyte, species of chimpanzee, which you would not see in these areas you're at. It's important to note that the higher the detection, the more confidence we can say whether there was an organism. And in these cases, when you're looking at that pan troglodyte genus of the chimpanzee, forgive me, of the pan genus of the chimpanzee genus, there were 3,000 reeds. Those chimpanzees
From
don't live in the
from how many
Appalachians.
samples?
Uh, oh, I wish they would say, they didn't say the amount, but that's a lot. That
Mm.
is a lot of an animal that doesn't live there. So what does that tell us?
Only takes someone with one pet to go for a walk that day.
So could you imagine somebody just walking the chimpanzee in the Appalachians?
No lie, in South Carolina, we were driving down route. I don't even remember the name of the road. We're driving, doesn't matter what road. There was a guy holding his steering wheel with a monkey sitting like right there with a diaper on. I do not doubt it.
Could you imagine? I people are so I love people. I think human beings are truly some of my favorite creatures and I'm trying so hard to understand them more and it just it makes everything so yet strange. So with that being said, there was another study using eDNA by an Italian doctor, and I'm not going to use their name. This one you guys will have to go and look up. I think it's bull. And the reason why I think it is because they refused to have anyone peer review their information,
Ah.
and they were showing signs of primates, very large primates, all these samples, but there was nothing there. And then all of a sudden, it showed up on a website, a peer review website that had no other articles but
Mm.
that one.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah. Now, excuse me. There is another thing that I want us to go and talk about. The there is another group of people that have established something called the Sasquatch Genome Project. They've analyzed blood, tissue, hair, and other samples, according to have come from the elusive hominin Sasquatch in North America. The anti-DNA found to match that of modern humans, but the authors claim that Sasquatch nuclear DNA is a mosaic comprising human DNA intra interpersed with a sequence that is novel but primate in origin. However, the scientific journal, quote unquote, in which the research was published is Dr. Ketchum's own journal, De Novo, launched in February 2018. As of July 2014, the Sasquatch paper is the only article that has yet appeared in this journal. What I'm talking about. Eric Bagner, a reporter for the Houston Chronicle, sent some of Dr. Ketchum's DNA samples to independent genetic analysis, and they found that most of them were genetic makeups of possum. So there's that. Those are the people we were talking about. I said I wouldn't use their name, and I wound up and I left it in my notes like a fool. But
I was able to find out in the case that they were looking for Pangenius, the chimpanzee Jesus, where they found 3,000 reeds, it was in
hmm,
over 12,000 reeds. So that's a quarter.
now does this disprove Bigfoot? Yes and no.
It's still a theory.
It is still a theory. This is the magic of the cryptid. Even with environmental DNA, we are beginning to paint pictures. We will no longer be lost into the shadows of ignorance. Science will be the light that illuminates this darkness for us, and we may be able to find true results. We can diminish things like globsters, the
Mm,
Mothman, things of that nature,
but not Nessie.
but not Nessie,
Oh, she's my favorite.
and maybe not even Bigfoot. And what does that tell us? As we are out there in the world and we are surrounded by wicked things, there are still many mysteries to be found. And even though they may not have the answer we want, we will finally answer in time. And that is delightful. It's wonderful to know that we have come this far. And no more shenanigans, no more conspiracy, but we can truly, truly begin to focus on science. And that truly makes. I hope that you were able to enjoy your time with us today. And I hope that we were able to go and make your Sunday a little bit more with. But with that being said, let us not lose faith in the mystery because there is so much more that we plan on sharing. There's so many more wicked, horrible things that I plan on bringing to you because now is the time for murder. As it gets cold outside and snow is filling up our driveways and ice is covering our streets, let us all take a moment to drink something warm. Let us prick out the something wicked this way come. Thank you so much, everyone, for your time and have a lovely weekend. Goodbye.